Welcome to the 365 Message Center show. Today, we're going to take a look at sharing from Teams to Outlook. There's also some metadata and additional taxonomy added to SharePoint libraries and some weird news around Teams Pro. What is that, Daniel? Roll the intro.
Yes, Darrell, we have an odd message for this week, Teams Pro. So I'm really looking forward to us having a conversation around that. But how are you doing, Darrell? You doing good?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. We're back in level 3 here in Auckland.
Yes, I saw that.
Yep.
Fun times. Hope you got
That's
groceries.
right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're good. We're good. But yeah, apart from that, it has been a good week. Plenty of stuff to talk about, and we can jump right in.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. The first message up is all about in Teams sharing to Teams from Outlook, right?
That's the one. And I should open it up as well. Come on, Darrell. Oh, that was not smart. Where did I put the darn thing?
It's right there.
There it is.
It's right.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there.
Okay.
I know it's right there, but I've got to see it right. Well, actually, the right there is. Sorry, people on the podcast. It's the way that we lay the screens out, and we're
Don't
making
worry,
bad jokes.
I'm going to cut this part out of the audio podcast anyway, so don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very conscientious of you. Outlook. All right. So, sharing two teams from Outlook. This is MC238648, and we've had the ability to share from Teams to Outlook, and to some extent from Outlook into Teams. Where this improves on the current experience is that you can choose to send the message and any attachments through to a chat or to any channel conversation. What we have had up until now is that you can forward a message into Teams, and you have to go and find the channel email address. You can't, though, forward an email into a Teams private chat. So this is a good feature, allowing us to take content that might have been sent to us from a customer, from a partner, from someone else to email and bring it into a Teams conversation. This is, an improvement, I think, on helping with the teamwork. What I do like about it is that it still brings through that full message. Sometimes what we find when we forward messages through to a channel, that it gets truncated. It gets to a point where it says, you'll have to open the full message to see the full thing.
That's right.
Tell me, Daniel, have you used the forwarding to channel much?
Absolutely. Well, not recently. Initially, when we rolled out Teams to our organization, it was a heavily used feature. Too much so, because for two reasons. One, it was heavily used in that every email about a particular, we tried it out on it like a project. Okay, so every email that's emailed, forward it to this. I'm like, God, I don't need all of those messages in the team. I can read it in my email. I don't need it in the channel. So, but the second problem was what you just mentioned, is that you would forward it and it wasn't really full fidelity. You didn't get all of the information, or it just wasn't a great experience. And you got no context, because you're right. When you forward it, it started a new thread. So there was no, why is this email here? What does this have to do with, the parts of this channel chat? So it really isn't a great way to kind of keep track of, well, this email is part of this conversation, or this conversation has to do with this email. Let me add this email to this thread.
Yeah, I agree. The important part that was missing for me was the context. That as you forwarded it through to a channel, you couldn't even go in afterwards and edit the message like you can with some of them. You couldn't go in and add its own subject. So you were stuck with whatever that subject was that it could have been forward, and then the actual subject of whatever that
That's right.
email was.
Exactly.
And it will also show you the first message in that thread where maybe all the context was further down.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I think, like we haven't seen it yet, but I would say it's going to look like when we send to Outlook from Teams. And this is another one that I use quite a bit to try and help people come back into where the conversation is in Teams. I will find a message, I will use the send to Outlook, and what happens is it opens up like a modal window, and it's the Outlook web experience, and I can add some context to it, and it will have like a nice little, I guess like a card or adaptive card where when it goes through to that person, they receive it in Outlook, they will see my context, they'll see a bit of that message, and then when they go through to answer it, they can go through to that full thread. And if they're experiencing this from Microsoft 365, they can even respond from that email directly to the thread.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be like that.
Yep.
So that is ready to roll out in mid-March through late March. And I believe it's going to get quite a bit of use. One thing that it doesn't cover is if you have features like individual rights management or the do not forward emails. So that's good. It respects that. You would hope that if you have got those features on there, that it's not going to allow you to forward those.
Yeah.
Oh, and it does actually give a full copy of that email and drop it into a subfolder in the channel, which will be called email messages. We're seeing a pattern like that too for attachments. Sometimes you see that folder created too.
So it's another place, though, you got to think about where content can be discovered. And if you have, for instance, you have a rule in your organization, emails have to be deleted at a certain period, no retention, meaning they have to be removed. Well, if I add it this way, then it's going to put that email as a file in SharePoint. So
yeah, exactly.
Just keep that in mind. For that.
Definitely. Daniel, I want to hear a bit about what's happening in SharePoint libraries and around that stuff that's on the screen right now.
Well, we have a message. This is adding taxonomy columns for modern SharePoint library views, MC238780. And this is rolling out targeted release mid-February, so now, through early March, and then standard release early March through end of March. And this is really bringing the creation of managed metadata columns into the modern experience. So if you think about how you're looking at a library right now, you can create a column straight in the view. You don't have to go in the settings, right? You can create a column, and it shows it in the message. Kind of, here it is. You go add a column, and you can select, single line, multi-line, person, yes and no, whatever. Well, it's going to be adding to that managed metadata, and so you can select it right there. What we have to do right now, before this is rolling out to our tenants, is when you go to the more ... it takes you to the kind of the backstage or the settings of the library where you can create as many columns as you would like, including managed metadata. So once you select that, then you get options for creating the column. You give it a name and setting that all up, right? And you're going to select manage metadata. But then you're going to have the display format. How do you want to show? Do you want to just show the term or its parent and the term? And they give a good example here of geolocations, meaning if the term is Sydney, then do you want it to just say Sydney and like Melbourne, or do you want to say Australia, Sydney? Okay. And then do you want to allow users to add values into this term set while they're in the library? So I'm tagging content. Do I want to have an open term set so that users can add their own terms? So that's, like I said, rolling out here by the end of March is the target for everyone. I'm liking this consistency on no matter what kind of column I want to create. I want to be able to do it right there. So this is bringing that into us for us. So I'm liking it. What do you think, Darrell?
Yeah. Oh, I think it's good, and I know that I'm reaching a bit to another discussion, but
Mm,
one of the questions that the community had around Viva topics, which we'll mention a bit later on,
hmm
was what does this mean for managed metadata? Well, here you go. It's
yeah,
definitely it
yeah,
has its facelift in the managed
yeah.
settings or the admin view of it, and here it has been exposed in the libraries.
Yeah, and if you remember the kind of the update to the views of managing it, so in the admin, it
Mm,
has been updated, but really hasn't been changed that much. It's just kind of a UI change.
mm,
Microsoft has said that they're looking into that, doing that, but so this is an incremental improvement. Bringing that
mm.
into the wonderful world of modern library management and creation. Darrell, I want to know, if I call you, what is the policy on recording? Call you in Teams. What is the policy in recording that meeting?
Well, Daniel, today, if I wanted to record a conversation with you, I just call you. I haven't set a meeting up.
Hmm?
I can record, uh, and this ability is controlled using the same policy that you would use to turn on meeting recording or cloud recordings
Hmm.
for your Teams meetings. So this message, one-to-one call recording policy introduction, MC 238796, is the distinction between having that setting for online meetings and having that setting available for one-to-one calls. And for good reason, some organizations, of course, won't want you to be able to record one-to-one calls, but they want to have that ability to record meetings. And I guess, it's around sensitivity of information and privacy of conversations and the like. So there will be a new PowerShell policy to use. It will be called Allow Cloud Recording for Calls. So it'll be its own setting to change, and it's there to turn on if you want it. If you don't turn it on, and if you haven't got recording turned on, then don't worry, it's not going to
Hmm.
be on. But if you have become accustomed to recording one-to-one calls and you want to keep that capability, then you'll need to go in and enable this
Hmm.
policy to set it to allow. So that is rolling out. See, review the setting and make the changes by March 11th.
Hmm.
Right. So the setting will be there. You're going to make that change, and then from March 11th, it will take effect. And
Yeah. Well, and I think this is a smart decision to separate those two, because most people treat this, meeting. That's a meeting. It's public in that there's more people generally than two. A call is something that is one-on-one calling. Here is it's a little more private. I'm not saying we're saying a lot of private things. It's just you assume that it's not being recorded.
mm,
And frankly, if we're treating Teams calling these one-on-one chat calls as a call, which a lot of organizations are starting to do, then you get into the legal realm of whether you can actually record those or not. Because in the states, and I know around the world, the rules are different, but there are different rules per state in the United States of
mm,
whether you can record calls with or without the permission of the other person, and et cetera. And so I'm liking the separation. Allow us to continue recording meetings and not record calls if that's what we choose to do. So I'm liking that.
mm.
Yep.
And there's a distinction there too of what what makes it a one-to-one call versus a meeting with only two people.
Mm-hmm.
If I schedule a meeting with you, Daniel, like we have for this production
Mm-hmm.
today, that is a meeting, and it means that I have the ability to hit record.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But if I have just gone into the chat capability of Teams, given you a call, or maybe even if I've got this ability, dialed up your phone number,
Mm-hmm.
then this is the feature where I could enable or disable being able to record.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there we go. So, Daniel, let's talk about It's our headline. Our
Hmm.
headline, and it's an interesting headline because it caused a little kerfuffle. This is an official word, kerfuffle, professional word in the community. The announcement of a new service plan for called Teams Pro.
Yeah, and those that are watching the podcast, the video version will see it says updated parentheses. And normally we're
Mm.
doing messages, we don't show updated messages. Updated means that it was released and then they have made a significant change to it enough to kind of release it. Normally we catch them before then. We talk about them before then because we're talking about it that week. Well, this one caused a little bit of a, what was it, kerfluffle? You said?
Kerfuffle.
And so let's dive into it. Announcing a new service plan, comma, Teams Pro, MC238782. On February 9th, you'll see it in the message itself. It's talking about that they sent a message out and it caused some issues with clarity. So it says, to clarify, there are no changes to product licenses with the addition of this new service plan. And I think when they start talking about service plans and licenses, we have to take a step back and understand, what do we have now? We have Teams that is part of, E3s and E5s and the A equivalents of those licenses. And then we have Teams that is part of other licenses, F1 and the Teams Free product and all of those. And so this is a new kind of it's a SKU. And what Microsoft is saying here, and I believe this is clear, hopefully, is that they're just naming it something, giving it a name as part of those E3, E5, and A equivalents. The issue, I think, came at the beginning. For those that were paying attention before this was updated, this message was not exactly the same as it was before. In fact, it talked about new features coming. And that's, I think, where people started getting concerned that something new was coming, or because they didn't understand what it was. And actually, Microsoft has taken that bit out of this message. There's no mention of any new features. Well, luckily, we have a screenshot here. And I will switch us over. So this is the message as it was published at the beginning. And it talks about a new service plan as being part, Teams Pro, a part of your Microsoft Office 3. It says Microsoft 365, Office 365. Okay. And Microsoft 365, E5, E3, and A equivalents, and the business standard and business basic license. Where we got in trouble here was how this will affect your organization. And it says, with this new service plan, Teams is introducing new capabilities related to meeting intelligence and webinar capabilities. And if you think about, though, for those of you that have been watching our show for a while, that should sound familiar. We've talked about those capabilities already. The webinar capabilities we actually talked about last week, which was being able to register, use Teams and have a registration process there. The meeting intelligence of understanding what's happening and what happened in your meeting. We've talked about some of those features that are coming already. So I think that's this, with this one sentence, Microsoft created so much confusion about what Teams Pro is. And frankly, they didn't tell anybody about it. And I think that was another problem that we had, was that none of us kind of knew this was coming. I'm not going to say none of us. A lot of us we had no clue what Teams Pro was and what was coming. So Mary Jo Foley, who is a popular journalist and follows Microsoft closely, she's a wonderful person as well. She did write up for ZDNet an article on this and kind of pointing to that. It's that one sentence that people grabbed onto. And she even had it on there as well about the meeting insights and all of that coming. And frankly, I don't think it has anything to do with that. It really is just just saying we're renaming this. That's all it is. And that's why they changed the message to reflect that. So I wanted to just clarify. There hasn't been an official like, hey, we made a mistake and all that. But you could take this message right here and the way it's now written to say they're not adding features for just to be a Teams Pro. They're just renaming it to Teams Pro. That's my personal opinion. I think it's backed up by the evidence. So hopefully that clarifies and helps people relax a little bit and know that it's not that we're going to have to spend more money for another Teams product. I think and there was confusion about, Darrell, about the communications plan, right? The add-on we've talked about in the show before about the additional communications plan where you can, do different functionalities. It was running your own live meetings and scheduling those. I can't remember exactly what all the other features. Sorry, but that's not part of this. That's not what this is talking about.
Yeah, just the same Microsoft Teams for Business. Maybe that would have been better if they just followed that pattern. Then everyone would have understood.
Yeah. So I think we can, rest this one. I think we're clear on this, hopefully. So can we move on to some consistency? I like
more consistency.
What about aligning experiences, Darrell?
Yes, well, experiences in terms of creating Microsoft Teams. So the title of the message, align the experiences for creating a team from different Teams interfaces, MC 238795. Let me just summarize it and say this is aligning the administrator experience with the end user experience when creating a team. We can go into Teams and create a team. All right, we go through various different bits and pieces to create that team, give it a name, description, add some people, done. Great, we've got our team. We've chosen, I guess, whether it's public and private and all those sorts of things. When an admin creates a team for you on your behalf from the admin center, there was a different experience. You used to, when you were creating it, the welcome message appeared differently. The message came through as if it was an Outlook or Microsoft 365 group. When the admin created the team from there, it would also make the team visible within Outlook and within the Outlook address book. It would change the behavior of when a meeting was scheduled in a channel so that when that meeting was scheduled and maybe I didn't invite Daniel, but he's part of the team, Daniel would still get the invite. And that has been traditionally for me quite a confusing experience about whether I intend a person to be invited to the meeting or whether they're just made aware of it and they can add it to their calendar. So those few experiences were quite different for an admin creating a team from the Teams admin center. Now it's going to be brought into alignment with what you would normally experience from creating a team in Teams. This is good news. Consistency of experience is always a good thing, isn't it, Daniel?
We love consistency. I do have a bone to pick with one thing, but I like consistency.
Go ahead, pick the bone.
Well, I don't like the decision being made that that even now that you've created this, basically any team created from here on out, from the UI, admin experience or within Teams, it's not going to be shown in Outlook clients. So you're not going to be able to find it in the Outlook clients. You're not going to be able to find it in the Outlook address book. I find that this gets us back to, and we had this conversation, I don't know, it was a year ago? It was probably a year and a half ago or more.
Easily.
About this whole, well, if I create a group in Outlook, then it shows up in Outlook. But if I create it in Yammer or Teams and it doesn't, and it's like, what? It depends. No, I don't want it to depend. I want to create a group and it show up in these 3 places, Outlook being one of them. I want them to show up in those places, whether I create it in via MS-DOS, or I created it in the admins. I don't care where it's created. I want it to show up. And I don't like this at all. I don't like this change because this was a way for admins to go and say, I want this team to show up in Outlook. So I'll create an admin center and it will show up. I also don't like it that, okay, but if you want it to, you want the current user experience for teams. So you do want all these things. You can use the groups graph API. So bust out the code. You can create your own process for this. I mean, come on. I don't like that either. Like, why am I having to create that? I don't want it. I don't want it. So I'd like this, but then I don't like some of the particulars. So I'll get off my soapbox now. Sorry. Hold on.
It's always you and your soapbox.
Sorry. No,
it's a good thing. It's a good thing you don't get moved to tears, because then the tears might mix with the soap and then you'd slip off your soapbox.
Oh my.
Let me just...
If I could react to your
well,
saying
I'm going to
Teams,
react.
I would react.
Yeah. Well, there we go. For podcast listeners, I've just thrown up a little laughy laugh there over the top of me. That's something we're going to mention a bit later.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, aligned experiences. This will be arriving mid-March. And then review and assess that action by 15th of March. Okay, so that's mid. Definitely.
It definitely is.
It is. So I think we're around about at the time when we start to make some quick mentions. Or no, there's
one more. So we're going to make this will be a quick one, and it is reactions. So Outlook reactions and new notification experience, MC239090. This will targeted and standard release beginning March for Outlook on the web and Outlook on iOS and Android. And it's not for the desktop Outlook app. So Outlook for Windows or Outlook for Mac. It's not for that. Users will be able to give quick reactions to emails. So like, love, laughter, celebration, surprise, sadness. These reactions will only be visible to people in your tenant. So in your company, in your tenant, and only people who are using Outlook for the web or Outlook for iOS or Android. It will not be available for those others. And so the view here, you'll see the way it'll show up. There's your reactions. I'm showing the message now. And then I'll be able to look at the reactions to my messages that I have sent in Outlook itself, Outlook on the web. Now, if I'm not using Outlook on the web, but it is in my tenant, then I will be able to I'll get a daily email that will summarize all of the reactions to my emails that I've received.
Really?
Yes, really. If I am not in the tenant, so if I react to an email that is from someone not in my company, not in my tenant, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to send it out to anything.
Well, you're going to feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, that's right. And if it is in a hybrid mode, so if it's Exchange on-prem, you're still in Microsoft 365, but you're in hybrid, it's not going to work either. So that is, like I said, rolling out fairly soon. It's kind of quirky in the way, well, if you have this client or that client, or you're in here and there, a lot of depends going on. So thank you, Darrell, for that heart that you just threw up on the screen.
Look, I'm playing with the other reactions, but that's interesting. One comment there too is, and we'll mention it in the callback, but it's not the same. Not the same. No. We've had that within Outlook for a little while. Yeah. It's just they add in a few more reactions, and it's always been internal.
Yeah. All right. So some quick mentions. It's like the lightning round. A new list will have versioning enabled by default, MC239092. This is rolling out mid-February, so now. Basically, when you create a list in SharePoint, and this goes for Microsoft lists as well, then versioning is going to be turned on by default. It's going to keep 50 of the most recent changes. That's fantastic. Thumbs up. If I had a thumbs up emoji, I would give it. I am all for that.
Working on it.
He's working on it.
There it is. These reactions aren't very
Another quick mention, performance improvements in Excel for the web. This is fantastic. MC239095. It's kind of a maintenance thing, but basically what it's saying is that when you're loading or scroll in Excel for the web, you're loading up a workbook, you're scrolling through, selecting cells, you're navigating, modifying. It's all going to be faster. And this is out now, so you should be seeing that those improvements now. So I'm excited. 2 thumbs up. I like performance improvements.
Yes. Quick mention there for SharePoint. There will be lightboxes for images coming. That's MC239264. Really good feature. It's a simple feature, and we've got used to it in many different places. When we click on an image, the background fades out, the image is larger, and we can see it easier, and it's right there in the foreground. And then if you click off to the side, then we're back to seeing the full library of where the image was from. But yeah, good to see that coming. That is rolling out mid-February, should be complete early March. And my other one is really, it's just that the message has landed. Okay, there's not much to say except that introducing Microsoft Viva topics, MC239266. You know, for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about it as a community. Microsoft Viva's come out. Topics is the first product. And here's the message in the message center to clarify, yes, it is available in your tenant, Darrell, and it is an additional purchase, and here's what you can add it to, and go here to find out more. So I don't have much to add to that, but just to say that it's a message center reminder that it's there and available to you to buy or to try out for a month.
All right. I got another one. This is Dictation in Word and Outlook just got better. MC239267. This is rolling out mid-March, expected to be completed by early April, and basically bringing in a new dictation toolbar. Makes it easier for users to create and edit content with their voice. And this is, again, Word and Outlook. When you click on the dictate button, you will get this new pop up, this new information about showing that it's listening with a nice little icon of that is recording there. You'll be able to have some settings that are great. So settings for auto punctuation, which is amazing because sometimes Word doesn't realize that when I say period, I mean period, not the word period. And it has a profanity filter and the ability to select that spoken language, all of that, pop-up window there while it's dictating. So that is great. I don't see a huge improvement other than that. So that's why we put it kind of in the quick mention. I did do a video on this on my personal YouTube channel on how to add this as a in Word so that you could actually have a hotkey for starting your recordings for dictation. So you can go check that out if you'd like. DanielGlenn.com/YT for YouTube.
We'll drop a card in the video for it too.
All right. So let's get to our callback, Darrell. You've been kind of throwing some of using this functionality here in the show, but this is the meeting reactions in Teams, right? The ability to react to what is being said in the meeting at the time that it's happening.
Yeah, it's a callback because it has arrived, started early February and completed mid-February. So yeah, we're bringing it up at the right time. Where we used to be able to just raise our hand within a Teams meeting, we have our reactions under there now. So good thing about that is as you are reacting, and we'll throw another one up there for the people within watching the live stream. As I react and I've hit the heart there, it comes up over the top of my video feed in the meeting, and I can see I guess my video feed is dulled out, and then I've got the heart or whatever it is animated and flowing up there. And it also appears over the top of Daniel's experience too, to see the reaction.
So I know who did it, right? I can see it's over your image and see that you're the one that did it. Yep.
Yeah. And it's not one that, like, if I just hit the heart multiple times. Oh, actually, I didn't try that before. You're not seeing this so much in the video.
Mm-mm.
You're seeing my heart pop up over the top of my feed, but on Daniel's desktop, it will throw up a few different hearts for every click that I make. It's a bit like when you're in a Periscope or a live Facebook Live feed or whatever. You can just hit that button or that reaction to
Let the
show
hearts
that.
fly, Darrell. Let the hearts
Yeah.
fly.
Now, great to see that. I wonder if I can. No, I can't do the same thing with raise hand. Raise my hand multiple times. Um, do a Mexican wave with it.
Hmm.
But I did mention that there is some inconsistency with the reactions. We've just had a look at the reactions for Outlook, and they are different.
Yep.
And someone commented that the reactions for Yammer are also different to Teams. So we've got three sets of different reactions. Nice to know. I guess, be careful as you're reacting to whatever it is you're reacting to, that you're choosing what you intend for
Yes.
people to see as your reaction.
I would love to see some consistency there. You're right, across the products, mobile and desktop and web and the different products. But it's nice to see this one has rolled out.
That's right. So that's our callback, and that's the show, I guess. Daniel, anything more to add?
No, I don't think so. I think we've introduced some new functionality. We have clarified some misconceptions about announcements, and we have shown you some items that, at least this meeting reactions, that are out now. So I think we've put together a pretty good show, if I do say so myself.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and for catching maybe the delayed coverage as well. We've always appreciated the live comments that enrich the discussion. Do go along to messagecenter.show to find all the different feeds if you want to subscribe to the podcast. Sometimes that's a more convenient way of engaging with the content. We also thank you for all the new follows this week too of people on our different social accounts too, and appreciate your following and support there. So
and I would say, Darrell, I would say though, for those that are watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button down there. Hit the like. If you're listening on
and
podcast,
the bell. Remember the bell.
That's right.
Yeah.
And do the bell so you'll get a reminder. If you're on podcast in your favorite app, make sure you like it and subscribe so that you get the further messages that we're going to be talking about in our future shows. So make sure you do that.
Oh, I think then with podcasts too, it helps to place a comment or a rating as well to say what you like about the show.
Would love
just
it.
so that others can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for watching episode 182. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye for now.